We're Ryan and Abby, and this is Lost Among Locals. We finally leave Athens this week and head out on a road trip around the Peloponnese in our little blue Hyundai Smurfette. We'll make a stop at Delphi, home of the ancient oracle.
Welcome to the navel of the universe. These young oracles were just high.
And then we'll head to Olympia, home of the original Olympic Games.
Marry that. Yep. Married that.
Sweating now?
You have officially done the 100-meter dash in the original Olympic Stadium. How do you feel?
Let's go road trip.
We'll see the scant remains of those in a moment. As you approach the top of the
All right, guys, we're on a road trip.
Woohoo! Road trip!
It's been a while since I've been on a road trip.
True.
In our little Hyundai i10, yeah.
I-10? Sure. Look at her. Isn't she a beaut? She's a biggin. Pretty sure. She weighs about 4 pounds.
Yeah, and
Vin. Hey, but you know what? She's done pretty good in these mountains.
Good. She's done good. So we are about to get to our first destination, which is Delphi, and then we're making a big loop around. How do you say that?
Peloponnese.
Big loop around the Peloponnese Peninsula. We're gonna hit.
Say that 5 times fast. Alright, you guys, so we have arrived here in Delphi, and we're parked on the side of the road that we think is a parking spot. Well, it's definitely a parking spot. We just don't know if we're allowed to park there. So we've come to the first place to eat that is like right close to our car, just in case. But it looks amazing. It's called Taverna Vacos, and it has the most amazing view from this terrace out here. It's a much better view than looking at my ratchet self right now that doesn't have any makeup on, so we'll just show you that instead. Alright guys, we are going totally traditional today for lunch. So I'm having what they call grass pea, which I'm assuming is green pea, croquettes with an onion chutney, which looks lovely. And Ryan is having brawn, which is like a bread, and it has like zucchini and potatoes and peppers and onions and all kind of marinated and some feta cheese on top. Looks good. Yeah, it is like fried green peas or chickpeas, and it is kind of a mixture, I think, of both. It's so good. It's hearty. It's warm. It's got like the right amount of crunch on the outside, and this onion chutney is like spicy and sweet at the same time. Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, we didn't have any problem with that. That was really good. You can get free, I think this is baklava?
Something similar, at least.
Something similar.
I still don't like baklava. I did try it again, because I am in Greece, and I want to give it a whirl, because I haven't had it in years, but it's still too textury for me. Good morning, guys, and welcome to Delphi, or Delphi. We've heard both. We're gonna go with Delphi though. So, welcome to the navel of the universe. So mythology says that when Zeus wanted to find out where the navel of the earth was, he sent out 2 eagles, one in each direction, and wherever they met, that would be the center of the earth. So they met here in Delphi. The only problem was Delphi was owned by an older goddess, Gaia, or Mother Earth, and it was guarded by her son Python, a giant serpent. So eventually the son of Zeus, Apollo, decides that he is going to liberate Delphi, and he heads this direction, kills the big nasty snake, and takes over the place for himself. So in ancient history, there's really not a more important place probably to government and democracy and all ways of thinking and all kinds of stuff they say than Delphi. The Oracle of Delphi, or the Pythia, was a young girl who the priests of Apollo would get very high. She rambled some stuff and the priest would interpret it very loosely. And leaders and government officials sort of had to make their decisions based on this loose garbling. And some major decisions were made about to war or not to war, to start government or not to start government. So she was kind of a big deal, and she was a big deal for hundreds of years. So besides the temple of Apollo here at Athena, where all the oracle-y stuff went down, Delphi was also a major treasury site. In fact, Homer mentions in the Iliad that Delphi was a very wealthy place. And then at one point it was destroyed by an earthquake, and all the Greek city-states came together, put in money to rebuild it, because even though they were fighting and were not unified at all, they did all use this place. So were most of them. And so it was an important place to kind of everybody, and there was lots of money here. So it's very extensive, and there's all these staircases. You can see the newer stuff that we're walking through now, or the refurbished stuff, and even older things up on the hill. It's pretty flat. There was a lot of stuff here.
So behind me is the Temple of Apollo, and this is actually the 3rd Temple of Apollo, and this is where the oracles would give their prophecy to anybody who came to look for answers. So,
When was it built?
it was built in the 4th century BC.
Look at you, fancy pants.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every once in a while I get some right.
Yeah, you do.
Not very often.
You get lots of things right. You married me.
That's true.
But yeah, 3rd temple on this site, partially restored, as much as they got.
Yeah.
There was a crack under the temple, and they've done some studying on the vapors that came out, and they think that probably these young oracles were just high on hallucinogenics.
Wow, being up here in these cliffs, you start thinking about the movie 300, where King Leonidas climbed up the cliff, very dramatically, just barely making a sheer cliff. So the real landscape's not quite that dramatic, but we can see how hard it was probably still for people to get here along the pass, and how impressive the valley is to get up here. Very thankful that now we have a car and just can drive right up to the site.
Greeks do love an amphitheater. They have a little picture here of in the 1930, you said? Some kind of play going on in this amphitheater. Almost fall. So the stadium was built in the 5th century BC. And people just sat on the ground to watch the Pythian games for the Pythian festival. Until Hadrian came along, the 2nd century, and he was like, oh no, I'm the builder of all the things. We ain't having this Roman conquered territory be sitting on the ground watching the games. Nah. So him and Atticus, who apparently had way more money than he knew what to do with, because dude built, like, funded everything, decided, we're gonna build some seats. Good call, guys. Well, we went the wrong way down this hill, so it means we get to go all the way back up, so that's cool. But there's a campground here. If you're an RVer or a camper, we found a campground right up here at the top, right next to the ruins. Y'all, he's giving me heart palpitations, and not in like a lovey-dovey kind of way. What do you guys think? Waterside?
Water slide.
Alright guys, so the little museum here at Delphi is worth a look, and it's included in your ticket that you already paid for. There is some really intact sculpture in there. Obviously there's a lot that's bits and pieces too, and it looks very different than like traditional Greek stuff that you see. The sculptures they almost look Persian or almost tribal looking. They're very different looking in this area than in Athens for sure. And there's pieces of a lot of the treasury. So once you walk through the museum, you can kind of see that from what I understand, what happened is that people from all over the Greek islands and other areas would build a treasury here at Delphi. So like each room is like, this is this building and everything we found from it. This is this building. So it's really well laid out. It helps you understand stuff a little bit better. There's some great renderings and drawings in there, and yeah, it's worth 30 minutes.
I'm overhearing the guy up there is talking about, I'm pretty sure this is the ancient gymnasium that the Delphi students would come and spend time at.
Not a bad place to work out. Got a good view if you're inclined to such torture. So I would definitely say get to Delphi early. We got here a little bit after 8 o'clock. It opens at 8, and people were just now coming in as we were coming back down around 9:30. So as with all of these old religious sites, as a Christian you're kind of torn, because you're like, they are monuments to false gods and such. And Jesus, he's my dude. And if I were a first century Christian, I can imagine wanting all these buildings like torn down or used to make a church or used into something else. But I think time, especially thousands of years, adds a little sentimentality to it. There's still miraculous feats of human engineering and artistry, and so yeah, it's a mix between like, yeah, I get it, and oh man, that's kind of sad. Alright, so even though Apollo is the big dog here at Delphi, Sister Athena got her own little temple complex just down the hill. Now you will have to walk you can make a big circle at Delphi and back out the entrance you came in, and then take a left, walk down the hill, and then there's a pretty conspicuous entrance that looks like a wheelchair ramp with some stairs. There is a very small sign, so just be on the lookout. It says Sanctuary of Athena. That's on the right side of the road, so you'll take a right, I don't know, maybe like a quarter mile down the road or something like that, and then down you go again, which is all good until you have to go back up in a minute. So Athena's temple here at Delphi is very delicate and ladylike. It was a rounded temple, which is rare here from what we can see. It has really delicate embossings on the top, almost looks like a crown or jewelry. Look, ancient Legos. So you see all these ancient writings on rocks and stuff, and maybe some of it's like hail to the gods or some sort of epic poem, but you have to believe that some of it says like gymnasium, that way, open 8 to 4. Often what happened with all of these temples is that when they were built obviously to honor whichever god, but they were also bragging rights for the architect and the builder and the artist. And while the temples were in use, there were obviously priests who were attending to him, making sure that they were well taken care of. Excuse me. But as with any building from antiquity, eventually you're going to be conquered by someone who doesn't understand your ways or just doesn't agree with them. Because each of these temples are going to go through a time period where they're just not important, or buildings or whatever, before they reach their ancient status and then become a novelty and kind of become like a tourist site or whatever. There's always a period of time in between where they're just derelict. And, you know, the stones get stolen for one thing or another, and it's kind of sad. Sunshine day. Birds are singing. Sun is out. It's humid. Beautiful day. So we think normally there might be a little train, like pulley thing that might pull people along this road when there's lots of tourists. Right now, they're just like, man, there's like 10 of y'all. You can just walk. Don't get hit by a motorcycle. So I was going to talk about how cool this bridge is until they just made me pay 13 euros and 50 to cross this bridge. Are you kidding me? Good morning from Olympia. So we have moved from Delphi on to the next major historical site, Olympia, the home of the gods and the first Olympic Games. So we are outside the old museum today. There's actually 3 sites here to see in Olympia that come on one combo ticket. There's the old museum, the new museum, and the archaeological site that includes the Temple of Zeus. That's all the info I have right now because I didn't do good research and I don't remember things sometimes. So anywho, let's go. Okay, so I don't think I've ever used the phrase America, like not in jest. 99% of the time I'm like, yay, other country, go you, I love you for this and your food is amazing and go culture. Except for 1 week every 4 years during the Olympics where we will crush you.
To the right is the archaeological site, to the left is the archaeological museum, and up there is the Olympic Games.
Sweet.
Well, you know, you never know if you can go in these places, like actually walk into the site. But there are some stairs, and we kind of looked at it and we're like, I don't know if we can go in. I think we can, not sure. And we told these ladies, said, can we go? And they're like, yeah, sure, yeah, of course, go. And they're like, oh, okay.
My little rule follower. But it is rare that you can like actually walk through it, you know, so this is kind of cool. So this fancy building with all the columns that you can go in is the locker room. So Dad, in my next house, I'm gonna put in these little tiny mosaic floors, and I think you owe me like a couple, well, you don't owe me anything. I owe you my life and like a million things you've done for me. But anywho, I'd like you to install them. These little tiny squares. So guys, the secret to these sites is that you have to be a little bit creative because honestly, you're just gonna see a bunch of half pillars and stones most of the time. So you really have to put in the effort. You have to read the signs. You have to look at the pictures of the renderings and like kind of try to imagine as you walk down this hill like how exciting it would have been to enter this huge double gate and these giant marbled column buildings would have been on the side of you and athletes would have been everywhere and like just would have been super cool, like entering a big stadium today for, you know, the World Series or something. Like that's what the Olympic Games would have been, not what they still are. So it's pretty cool heritage. This one was built by Alexander the Great's daddy. This is his altar outside the oldest temple here at Olympia. This is where they light the torch for the Olympic Games. This says it was just a house filled with vases. It's disappointing. I thought it was a wrestling pit or penalty box. It's time to go in. Oh, wow. Imagine this place filled with people.
Yeah, I think about I don't know if there's, I'm assuming they were quite a few, or they just sit on the grass.
Probably just on the grass at this stage of the game. In 1000 BC. Well, 776 BC.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because it said yesterday at Delphi that there were no seats until Hadrian came along in the Roman Empire and built them. You just sat on the hill. Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, stretch.
Wow. Limber one you are.
Hold down.
He's real fast, but limber, not so much.
No. Definitely not. Oh, sore.
What'd you get on with it?
It's a long ways. I'm trying to get myself motivated.
Are you seriously going down there?
Huh?
Are you seriously going down there? I was just kidding.
I mean,
you do you, boo.
maybe halfway.
All right. Weirdo. I married that. Yep. Married that. You okay there, boo-boo?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Sweating now.
Dork. That must be the big boy over there. Those columns are huge. Jeez.
Oh my, yeah. Yeah, those pillars are massive. Wow.
So this indeed is the Temple of Zeus, one of the original ancient 7 wonders of the world. There would have been a 12-meter, so like, what, 36 to 40 feet, statue of the sitting Zeus on the throne inside the middle of this big temple. So he was a big boy. And this temple was toppled by an earthquake in 551 AD. Hence the toppling effect that we have going on here. You can kind of imagine it like toppling with it looking like this. It's easy to see it happening.
That had been pretty scary when you're looking at all these massive things just going every which direction.
Babes, you have officially done the 100-meter dash in the original Olympic Stadium. How do you feel?
I mean, it was a privilege to be able to run, and yeah, I'm tired. I feel tired.
Yeah, yeah.
And sweaty.
Right. But also, you won.
I won, yes.
Yeah, you were the champ today.
I was the champion.
Undisputed victor.
Nobody came close. I mean, I blew everybody away that was in the race with me.
Undisputed champ of the 100-meter dash.
Yes.
At the Davis Olympic Games. I've never been more proud of you.
Yeah.
Let's go get you an ice cream. All right, you guys, so we finished up here at Olympia. It is a 3-part site, so you'll pay 12 euros for your ticket, but in that you get your ticket to the archaeology site, which I would say allot yourself at least an hour and a half. It's a big site. And then secondly, you have the archaeology museum, which is fairly good size, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And then you have the Olympic Games Museum, which is a lot smaller and is a lot of reading. So probably won't spend as much time in there, but I would say you at least need to give yourself 3 hours for Olympia. It is a big site. It's very interesting. And yeah, moving on.
Voilà, pour faire quelqu'un va nous faire ça va?
Americani, americani.
We too.
Nous avons aujourd'hui des
so-
choses. Ça
What's your
dépend.
name?
My name is Nondas.
Nondas.
You make a video?
Nondas ran the torch
Nondas?
twice,
Very
right?
nice. Me, I have been around the torch for Atlanta, Georgia in '96, and I've been in the stadium of Olympia. In 1976, the year of Nadia Comaneci for Montreal, and I have many respects for the United States. As one boy born here, this moment here is one welcome to you and to the whole United States.
Thank you very
Nothing
much.
else.
All right, you guys, that was a little overwhelming, but how cute was he? So the story's a little complicated because thick accents, but I think he was an Olympic athlete in 1976 here in Athens. And then his cousin was the torch carrier in 1980, and he was an Olympic football player or soccer player. So, yeah, family of Olympians, and we got to hold the original torch. They were super, super sweet, and he loves America a lot, like a lot. If you're in Olympia, definitely stop in their jewelry store. They'll probably stop you on the street, but definitely go in. Like, don't be afraid to go in. They're super, super kind and amazing people.
And of course, another cool thing he gives you is a little postcard that has his picture of him. He dots himself, signs it, puts the date, Montreal Olympics, and then he puts his address and he underlines it back just in case you don't know, you can't find the address. And he's like, send me your picture and maybe something else, like a hat or something.
All right, you guys, so he said at one point an American sent him a hat, and it just like became a tradition. And so now he has over 1,800 hats from baseball teams, the military, all different kinds of Air Force hats. So anyway, Air Force people have sent him badges and things like that because he's like obsessed with the Air Force. So anyway, it's kind of funny because he's got like this huge collection of American hats.
So the steams, or the gases, if it came up through the crack, had hallucinogenics in it.
You guys, he's tried to say the word hallucinogenics 17 times now. Nope, still not it.
Did you know that the first Olympic Games were in 776?
Yay, other country! Motorcycle. So when you're driving in a new city, in a new country, roads you don't know, a car that's not yours, what can make that more nerve-wracking?
Rain.
Rain.
Rain makes it work.
Rain's good. Well, that's all for this week, folks. But stay tuned, because next week we continue our road trip through the Peloponnese Peninsula, and we explore two of the most beautiful places on the Greek mainland, Mistras and Monemvasia. Do us a solid, hit the subscribe button, and ring the bell too, so you don't miss next week's episode. Now get lost!